For the things they couldn't hide, they claimed that an Asiatic people came into Egypt, took them down for a period, and just walked away, called the Hyksos period. Now, and mind you, that's the only place in history in Egypt where people came in the country, ruled the country, and no one knows who they are today. We're going to prove to you that by them making that statement that they couldn't hide, the Hyksos, that they know that the children of Israel were there. They just call them a different name. They call them Hyksos, which is Hyksos. Now, we're going to go into some records. We're going to go into the Holy Bible. The Holy Bible. And we're going into, let me show you a Josephus because mine's a little tore down. Here's a Josephus. I have a very old one. But it's called The Complete Works of Josephus.
Your entry is not valid.
Okay? We're going to go into these records and prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that not only was Israel in Egypt, all the greatness in Egypt was attributed to the children of Israel. All the greatness in Egypt. And when Israel left Egypt, it became a desert. Okay? Now, let's start with Abraham. Okay? Let's start with Abraham. Let's go to the book of Josephus. What chapter are you in? The 8th chapter, right? And the 2nd paragraph. Read that.
Antiquity of the Jews, chapter 8, paragraph 2.
Go ahead.
For whereas the Egyptians were formerly addicted to different customs.
It says, for whereas the Egyptians were formerly addicted to different customs. Read.
And despised one another's sacred and accustomed rites, and were very angry one with another on that account. Abraham conferred with each of them, and confuting the reasonings they made use of, everyone for their own practices, demonstrated that such reasonings were vain and void of truth.
So their philosophizing, even Abram in past history told them that their rights and the things they were dealing with were void of truth. And what did Abraham do from there? Read.
Whereupon he was admired by them in those conferences as a very wise man.
Go ahead.
And one of great sagacity when he discoursed on any subjects he undertook, and this not only in understanding, but in persuading other men also to assent to him. He communicated to them the arithmetic.
So he showed the Egyptians arithmetic. Now, mind you, Abraham was not from Egypt. He was living in the land of the Chaldees. Okay? So in his goings, he ran into Egyptians. And he showed them what?
He communicated to them arithmetic.
He showed them arithmetic. So you can't say that all arithmetic and mathematics came from Egypt. That's not the truth. Read.
And delivered to them the science of astronomy.
The science of astronomy was also taught to the Egyptians by Abram or Abraham. Read.
For before Abraham came into Egypt, they were unacquainted with those parts of learning.
Read that again.
For before Abraham came into Egypt, they were unacquainted with those parts of learning.
Before Abraham came into Egypt, the Egyptians did not know anything about arithmetic, science, or astronomy. So how can they say that all science and all history comes from Egypt? Read.
For that science came from the Chaldeans into Egypt, and from thence to the Greeks also.
See that? So the land of the Chaldees where Abram was had that information before Egypt. And who was living in the land of Chaldees? Abraham and his father Terah. So they was dealing with science, and the proof to you they was dealing with science and mathematics, Terah was during the time of Nimrod. And Nimrod built a tower almost to the heavens. So how could they build those towers in Genesis without arithmetic and mathematics? That blows Egypt out of the water right there. How could they have built those towers in Babylon? You understand? How could they have done that pre-Egypt if Egypt started mathematics and history? See, these brothers be putting themselves in a box. They get themselves so caught up in Egyptology and its greatness, they can't see nothing beyond that. We can see beyond that because our forefathers were in all these civilizations and made them great. So we can see past Egypt because once we left, Egypt fell. We can see past Rome because once we left Rome, Rome fell. Okay? So each civilization became great because of God's people. Through Abraham, all nations shall be blessed. You just can't look at the time period that the Most High was blessing Egypt while we were there and saying that that's the cradle of all civilization. That's unlearned. That's unlearned. Okay? First of all, and then here's another thing they claim, is that the story of Noah and the ark came from Egypt. Now, that's ridiculous in itself, because Noah had 3 sons. Ham, let's get it out of the Bible dictionary. He had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And I think, don't you think it took some mathematics to build an ark? So, who had that mathematics? They admit that the Noah's Ark, you understand, was in Egypt history. But they claim all mathematics came from Egypt when Matazarium's father Noah built an ark based on the cubits that the Most High told him to build it. That was mathematics. So even in their own history, they are contradicting themselves. Even in their own history. Because they admit that the ark happened and Noah happened. Okay, so where did Noah get the diagram to build the boat? And did he use rulers? Did it take math for that? Was not Noah Ham's father? And wasn't Ham on the boat before the Egyptians were born?
Your entry is not
That's
valid.
common sense. That's common sense. Ham was Noah's son on the boat that was built with mathematics while the Egyptians were in Ham's loins. So don't get just stuck in Egyptology and belittle yourself, because our history goes way back to Adam. Okay? Now, get Ham out of the Bible dictionary.
Ham.
Put up the Bible dictionary for those that are not familiar